Turrican II is not the final fight. It's Amigos, episode 310. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Turrican II. Now, Aaron, this week, we are going to disperse with the usual banter and talk about what went down last Saturday. Amigathon, yes. Aaron. Amigathon 2021 was with us. It was not against us, as it has been in years past. And I think it's pretty fair to call it an unqualified success. Aaron, what were your thoughts on Amigathon 2021?
Listen, every year, we look at this, and there was a time where we looked at Amigathon as a daunting technical task, and that we were trying to raise some money, but it was just like we'd look at it and just be like, oh my God. And then there was a couple times where it was a physical challenge. We're like, my God, can we go 24 hours or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, you have refined the technique of Amigathon. I'm talking about for me personally, to where now it's sort of almost like a festival, a fun festival, where all the different communities and all the different Amigans and people even from the Atari side, the PC side, everybody come together just to have a good time, to be entertained, and to raise money for those young boys and girls via the Children's Miracle Network. And I think this year, and it's not just that the money is a big deal. I mean, it was a very large sum, and I was very pleased with it. But I think, personally, I just enjoyed seeing so many people. We had a great turnout this year. We had so many people that volunteered their time and their talents to entertain the viewers and the listeners, and to try to get them to toss a couple bucks in. I just thought it was great, and it's very heartwarming when we see the community come together like that, because we all know sometimes the community don't get along too good, and they can fight about various things. But when the push comes to shove, when the rubber meets the road, when the kids are on the line, that's when they get together. It's a joyous festival, and they dig deep, and they give a lot, and it was a beautiful thing to see, Boat.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I want to thank one more time all the fine folks that tuned in and watched us, that threw a couple bucks to the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. I want to thank all of the sponsors, and I want to thank especially the sponsors that donated prizes. We did our prize giveaway yesterday on Twitch. I'll be putting that on YouTube at some point in the future, so you can watch that. You can watch the excitement. Congratulations to all of our winners. If you were a winner, you have already been notified, and everybody was very quick to tell me, yes, they did want the prize, and here is my address.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah. And so thank you to everybody. A couple of people that I forgot to thank on Amigathon itself that I really want to take the time to thank now are Rob Flack O'Hara for designing sort of the template for the Amigathon streaming background. He sort of led the charge with that. And thank you, Rob, for that. And also Duncan Stiles for producing our Amigathon intro video, which I used again yesterday before the prize drawing. That was an incredible animated intro there, Duncan. So thank you to Rob and Dunk for doing some work behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I want to, I mentioned him on the stream, but I want to just one more quick shout out to our good buddy Dreamcatcher, who sort of came up with the whole charity event I did back in the day. I actually got a message from Dreamcatcher. I dropped him a note on one of his videos, and he did write back, and he said it was good to hear from us, and he said this was a fantastic achievement. Congratulations. Amigathon keeps getting bigger and better each year. And he also said he did watch at least some of Amigathon, so that was nice. So a big shout out to DK as well, and to everybody. I mean, a lot of people. This was a multi-man job, that's for sure. We had a lot of people giving a lot of their time. I was lucky enough, Boat, and I think you got at least caught some of it. I got to catch most of the streams after the main bulk of the show, the 12 hours, and that was a lot of fun too. In fact, I even came back and kicked in with the TeamSpeak regulars as long as I could stay up before I fell apart for some City of Heroes. But it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of good stuff there with Rob and Steel Rat when they did their thing. They were very amusing. And I got to say, a big shout out to to Stevie Stroh and L. Curtis Boyle. Their segment was very entertaining. Our buddy David Z. David Z picked, I don't know if you caught any of his stream, but I got to talk about it, Bode.
Okay.
At the very beginning, he was covering games that sort of took us apart on previous Amigathons. And the first thing he loaded up was It Came from the Desert.
Oh,
I did say, I said, boy, that's the one. So he started the game and he was talking to people about how you played it. And instantly, he'd been playing the game for 2 seconds. His whole house was on fire. I was like, that's it. That's the game I remember. And then I caught Mr. Cola's stream. Cola is a pro, as you know, Boat. He's a real stud. It was great to watch him work. And then we finished off the T-Speaker regulars. Those boys really stepped up their game, and we had a real good time playing some City of Heroes during the lagging ending parts of the thing. So overall, just it was a good time all around. And amazingly, nothing exploded. There were no meltdowns. We didn't have to return equipment, go buy new equipment. It all just sort of fell into place. So that was gratifying as well on a technical level. So you should be commended, Bo. Well done.
Well, yes. Thank you. So, with all that said, you have taken it upon yourself, Aaron, to split some of this stuff up, right? Some of the different segments of Amigathon.
Yeah, I should probably just quickly explain how it's going to go down. So, as you know, if you watched any or all of the first 12 hours, a lot of the guests have already posted their segments as part of their channel. Our good buddy Doug Tinmark, he posted his segment already on his channel. Control Art Reese has posted his segment on his channel. Dan's contribution was sort of like a highlight of his channel, so you can pretty much go check out his channel. So I probably am not going. Kim Justice. I don't know if she posted hers or not. I don't think she did. So we might do that one. But anything that's already been posted, we probably won't repost it. Me and Boat talked about it. We can't really see any reason since they've already put it out as their weekly event. I don't want to try to step on their toes on that.
Right.
I've got all the entire event on the hard drive here, so I'm going to be splitting it up. Most of it will probably be host segments. We will, and plus a few other things that don't get posted outside of the Amigos. We'll put those up, like Bill's segment, for example. We'll pray to putting that up. So I'll start divvying that up and putting it up in the coming weeks. This isn't going to be a thing where we stretch it out for like 10 years like usual. We'll probably get it all up sometime the next month or two, Boat.
All right. That sounds good, man. That sounds great. I look forward to reliving the memories, especially the epic match of the game's Summer Edition. that we played.
That was one of the funniest things. That whole segment was one of the funniest things. It's that stuff you can't beg for that kind of action online, especially with all of us there. I love that. I'll never forever forget that. So much fun.
Now, Aaron, it's been a couple weeks since we've done the news, since we didn't have a show last week, so we have a couple stories to talk about this week. You want to kick it on over to the robot?
Yes, sir. Let's fire it up.
Amiga News.
All right. Kicking things off, Aaron, there is a new game that is debuting this coming Saturday at 9 a.m. UK time. And that game, Aaron, is Turbo Tomato.
Oh, okay.
So this is a game that has been published by Bitmap Soft. They're one of the big publishers in newly released Amiga titles, as well as other things. It's developed by Nivrig Games, and this is kind of a neat concept. It's described here on Indie Retro News as a highly explosive arena battle game. Okay, and all you need is an Amiga 500. So this isn't one of those games that you need a really jacked up Amiga to play. What you do, I watched the video of this thing. What you do is you run around. You're a tomato. Your friend's a tomato. I think that you're a red tomato and your friend is a green tomato, and you run around and basically just try and blow each other up, and also whatever else is in your path. That sounds like a good time to me. I'm a big fan of these sorts of, party type, casual, just run around, blow stuff up, have fun type games. So, Aaron, have you checked this thing out?
I'm looking at it now. It's funny. At first, I thought it was like a sequel to Bill's Tomato Game.
Oh,
that's why I was like, oh boy. But I will say, this looks like a Bomberman for dummy here, because they just took. It looks like they just got rid of the maze and you just go around slamming bombs in each other, and that's the game. That might be pretty good, Bo. That might be fun.
I agree. I agree. So I will definitely check this out as we get more as different versions come out. I don't know if this is going to be available as a. Let's look at the website here. I believe that this is the usual shtick where you've got the digital edition, you've got the boxed edition, and so on.
Box
Uh,
looks nice, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. I'm looking to see. It doesn't look like because it's not going to be released
Yeah, I
until
don't
the
think it's
30th.
listed yet.
There's
So
nothing out here yet. But I imagine Bitmap Soft doesn't tend to, charge too terribly much for their physical edition. So I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry if you're interested in picking this thing
yeah,
up. So
I don't see a price listed. So we'll just have to see what happens. But the box looks great, and it will definitely stand out amongst your collection. It is tomato red. For sure.
absolutely, including the disc. The disc
Yeah.
also tomato red.
Yes,
So
yes.
all right, Aaron. Now, this next story isn't directly Amiga related, but it will be of interest to everybody who is into the retro scene. The one and only RMC Neil has launched a new Kickstarter in the hopes of trying to get his computer museum out the door. He's come so far, and he just needs one final financial push to kind of put things over the edge to make everything exactly as he wants it to be. So, what he's done is he's teamed up with renowned Amiga artist Stu Cambridge and to develop a retro coloring book. This is basically it's models of both the interior and exterior of many classic computers from our youth. Now, this is an unauthorized book. They do not have the blessing of Sinclair, Apple, etc. So what they've done is they've cleverly changed the logos on these machines to say things like RMC instead of ZX, so it's RMC ZX on it. Pretty clever. And I've got to say this is somebody who has sort of dabbled in what they call adult coloring books, which it sounds sort of vulgar, but it's actually just coloring books that aren't for 5-year-olds.
Sure it is.
This looks like a winner. This looks like a winner. What do you think about this thing, Aaron?
Well, let me tell you something right now. Neil was, if he's trying to fund this, and I watched the video that he put out just today as we filmed this. I watched the video of him working on the cave there, the new cave. Mm-hmm. And if this money was meant to put him over the top, he can go out and buy several auxiliary caves to put this in, because they blew past the goal. They've already tripled up on the goal of this thing. They're raising the big money with these coloring books. A simple concept. I believe the artist in this worked for Sensible Software, by the way, back in the day.
That's right.
So, but listen, I was talking to my buddy at work about this. I'm like, look at this. Look how much money has been raised with these coloring books. Listen, coloring books are a thing. Weird thing. I was telling him, I've got a Mothman coloring book. I got a cryptozoology coloring book that we've picked up. People get a big kick out of these things. And listen, Neil has the golden touch. This was a smart idea. He brought on a talented dude, and it's a bang operation. So, and also Neil said that during the show, he said this will come with a thing where you could knock off as many copies of it as you want. It'll come with a code or whatever, so you can just print off the pages. You don't have to actually write in the original book once you got it.
Yeah, and this is very reasonable. You can get the physical copy of this coloring book for only $10, about $14. So I find that to be quite reasonable. And then if you just want the digital edition that you can just print out, that's only £8. And so, this is and of course, like you said, all the physical copies come with that digital code too. And as we keep driving home, this project is to, support building the retro computer exhibition at the cave. I'm going to try and get over there as soon as I can, as soon as all this stuff is over with and it's a little bit easier to travel overseas. I'm desperate to see what the new cave looks like and to play around with all the goodies he's got in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, if the kid said, "Dad, I need a $10 coloring book," I'd tell him to jump in a lake. However, it's not like I can run out and get the retro computer coloring book. It's a one of a kind. Plus, you're supporting the big man, and hopefully between this and whatever else he needs, he could get that secret arcade put together, which I'm interested in seeing him put in. So yeah, it's good stuff. Neil, he's the man with the plan, and this was a very clever idea to get his glass cases and whatever else he needs. I think he'll be in good shape for casing up all of his artifacts after this thing closes. And oh, by the way, as of the filming of this, it's still got 18 days to go. So good grief, who knows how much money is going to be raised when the end draws? But I'd say it'll be a pretty good chunk, Boat.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, getting back into our gaming news, Aaron. This is another story from our buddy, also Neil, different Neil at Indie Retro News. This is a game called Box 4. Now, this is incredibly confusing because the name of the publisher is Lemming 880s.
That is.
So you look at that and you think, oh, it must be a Lemmings game.
That's what I thought first. That's exactly what I thought.
Right, but it's not. Box is a platforming game. It kind of reminds me of Fez. Did you ever play Fez on the old Xbox 360?
The highly touted indie game, as you're talking about, right? Yeah.
Right. And so this is a game that's developed in the Scorpion engine. And it looks like the I see both of the former games were developed by Backbone with Backbone, but now he's moved on to the Scorpion engine, which I guess is a better engine for this type of game. I checked out the video of this. It looks pretty good. It doesn't say what you need, what kind of Amiga you need to run this thing. I know that I believe that the Scorpion engine games sometimes are kind of hardware intensive. But don't let that stop you, because who doesn't have great emulators and stuff right now. Right now, this is just in its early phases. I believe that this video is the first kind of teaser of what's to come. But this type of game is right up my alley. It's a bright, beautiful, good sounding, good looking platformer, and I'm eager to check it out.
It's got that sort of glossy look to it that we've seen on a couple other games. I mean, and I mean this in a good way. Just the way the platforms are set up. It's hard to judge exactly what this game's going to be by watching the video, so what to find out. But yeah, for something that's in its early stages, it looks like he's well on his way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and before we move on to our game, we need to talk a little bit about our Retro Rewind pick of the week.
Yeah, this is an easy one, Bode.
Yeah, as we said before, Retro Rewind, mega sponsor of the decade of Amigathon. They contributed financially out the wazoo, as it were, and we're proud that they are now offering this new service. So up until this point, you could always order cap kits and stuff from Frank and the gang, but now, if you've got a little shakiness in your hands, if you don't feel quite confident enough to open up your invaluable hardware and go to work on it yourself, why not let the pros do it? Frank and the team at Retro Rewind are offering a complete recap service for all types of Amiga. Whether you've got a 1000, a CD32, a 4000T, whatever you've got, they will recap it for you. And they'll do a good job because they use nothing but the best quality tools, and they've got guys working there that know what's up. Their recap service starts at around $45. The page right now we've got up is the CD32. That's $54. That's a small price to pay for peace of mind, don't you think, Aaron?
Let me tell you something. All right. I knew that they had started a recap service. This is a shoot, by the way, but I'm going into business here. Mm-hmm. And I knew a lot of people were interested in getting their stuff recapped, okay? I am stunned at the very competitive price that's been set for these recaps, okay? Mm-hmm. I literally took a double take when we went to this page. These are ludicrously low prices for recapping. And I will be sending out my machines in post-haste before Frank comes to his senses, because that is unbelievably inexpensive for recapping. If you've considered, especially, now listen, there's a lot of people in Europe recapping stuff, but if you're here in the North America, you're boned. There's nobody to help you. There's very few places that'll do this.
Right.
This is a bargain on any continent, Boat. I urge you to consider Retro Rewind for your recapping needs. I'm flabbergasted at the budgetary, forthwith, the amazing low price of doing this stuff. I mean, a CD32. If you're listening on your audio, CD32 recap here, $54 plus, of course, the cost of shipping of the board. But I mean, that's a steal, Boat. That is a steal right there.
Yeah.
So, my God, I can't believe that. So, yes, this is a ringing endorsement for this service, which I will be taking part of myself. Very good.
And here's the best part.
Yeah.
Say that you're all in. You know,
I'm
you
in.
You want to pay $45, which is a pittance. Let's be honest, for the amount of work that's going to go into one of these recaps.
48.
You can save
now.
10% on top of that by using the promo code Amigos10 at checkout. Don't forget to use that promo code. Save 10% off any order. We thank RetroRewind.ca for sponsoring Amigos.
Absolutely, and thanks again for all they did during the Amigathon. A big spender during Amigathon. We appreciate it.
Yes. All right, Aaron. It's time. Let's take a second look, shall we, at Turrican II.
Okie dokie, Boatster. Now, I wanted, I told Boat, and Boat mocked me, but I'm going to mention it again anyway. Normally, when we do these rewinds back to our previous shows, I will catch a small amount of the previous show, and then I recoil in horror at how bad they are, and run like the wind. But this one I actually sat down and listened to because I had a personal breakthrough with this game this week, and I wanted to see how I covered it before. And I did notice that this was episode 18, Boats. This was our well into our first go around. Was that first year? Probably, I can't imagine the month. But this is the episode where we were joined by Sven from CinemaWare. So
yeah, I want to say this is probably February 2016.
Yeah, this was a very famous episode. It sticks out of my head. And what I really enjoyed about it was Boat getting Sven to help him with the pronunciations of all the artists,
right?
Which was great. and Sven actually threw in a lot of tidbits here, so that was fun. You should get Sven back on the show someday, but he was.
I'd love to.
Real
I'd
nice
love to
guy.
have him back on. Yeah.
So anyway, let's flash forward to today. Turrican II: The Final Fight, Boat. This came out on the Amiga in '91 on your disc, published by Rainbow Arts and developed by Factor 5.
Mm-hmm.
Factor 5 has a pretty darn good track record with me and you, Boat.
They do.
They've got a couple winners here. They didn't publish a ton on the Amiga, but amongst the things they published, there were a couple big time winners. They did BC Kid, which we both enjoyed quite a bit. Denarius, Catechus. They did R-Type, and then, which is another one that we liked and looked at. And then here's one that we've got to check out, Boatster. Tony and Friends in Kellogg Land. It's like a winner to me. I guess Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, Tony the Tiger. I bet that's probably pretty good.
Yeah, and of course they also developed all the Turricans and all the CD-TV versions. Now, I should mention that Turrican II also appeared as a CD-TV title, and I would wager probably one of the best. having ventured into this realm of CD-TV, and since they released CD-TV versions of 1 and 2, I'm assuming that they sold pretty well on the thing there. Just a quick shout out. There's a huge staff that worked on this from Factor 5. But game designed by Manfred Trentz, Andreas Escher, Holger Smith, and Julian Egbrich. And the music on this famously done by Chris Huelsbeck, who, amongst other things, did the music of Monkey Island, a huge double wide megastar. And the music for this has gone on to be ultra. Is this the most famous music on the Amiga? I would say yes.
Yeah.
For this game, and it's gone on to be performed by orchestras, released multiple times on various media. A huge banner score for Huelsbeck. And it's funny, Boat, we were so early in the game, neither one of us knew who he was. That was embarrassing
Huelsbeck,
too.
what?
Because
I remember. I definitely remember. He's had at least one Kickstarter, possibly two, with putting the soundtrack for Turrican II and probably other things onto vinyl and things like that.
Here's the facts. Huelsbeck is the Mac Daddy of Amiga tunage. And it's not just because he could crank out a good tune. He was working with 7-voice, crazy.
He was writing his own routines so he could fit extra channels in.
He was horking stuff for the ST to get it to work. It's crazy time all the time. So the music on this, it didn't just show up. Like, this guy had to work for it. That's what makes it better. This was an ECS OCS game, Boat, so you can rant on about that if you want. There's no AGA involved.
I don't rant about ECS OCS at all.
No, I'm talking about
ECS rules.
I'm saying that this game looks great, and it's not AGA. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, you just made my own point.
Now, this was surprising to me, Boat. I don't think we mentioned this a whole lot in the original show. I didn't realize that this game got shopped around like it did. All right. This thing was on the Amstrad, of course, the Atari ST, which apparently, we're not an ST show, but apparently having this on the ST and looking as good as it did and playing as well as it did was a major miracle. Like the behind-the-scenes crap was off the charts, a technical marvel, all right? You've also got the C64 version, which is the lead version. Now, it's funny, a few web pages that I use for resources listed the PC VGA version as the lead version, but I got it straight from the horse's mouth that, in fact, the Commodore 64 version was your ipso facto #1, despite the fact that the Amiga version came out first. That was their launch system, was the C64. You've also got the ZX Spectrum, and they even had a version of this that was compatible with the Timex Spectrum, which
wow.
Give them credit on that, and of course the CDTV as well.
Are you going to talk about the Super Nintendo and Mega Drive releases of this game?
Well, we'll get to it. All
okay.
Right? We'll bring up the rear with that.
Okay.
Turrican II. You know, we've played this game. This game comes up all the time. We've played it on streams. In fact, I'll look to see how many times we played it on our channel. And we've played it a few times in streams and stuff, poorly, I might add. In fact, every time I watched us play, I turned that off. We also had one of our high score challenges on this game.
Right.
And everyone crushed us because we were not good.
Yes.
But I never, the one thing I never did, Boat, and I don't know if you ever did, but I never bothered to know what was going on during the game.
Right. This was the first time that I actually bothered to read the backstory and view the cutscene that we're watching right now.
So I looked up. I got the some of the sort of a snippet of the story from the manual here. All right. So, and I'm not going to read all of this, but just to give you a flavor for what's going on. So it's 3025. Okay. And the whole universe is ruled by the United Planets Freedom Forces. Rolls off the tongue.
Lots more people have purple hair.
Well, listen. Have you been outside recently? So anyway, a battle cruiser rolls in. It says here, the cruiser has unknown technology. There's an explosion. The ship is battered. There's a bunch of crap that goes down, and this thing called the Machine survives the carnage, and you're basically is the bad guy of the game. All right, I look at this. I've read this 3 times, and every time I read it, it just seems dumb. So all I need to know is you're trying to beat this thing. Okay.
Okay. The cutscene actually does a little bit better job.
Okay,
of
go
breaking
ahead.
down what happened. So you've got these guys, these freedom fighters, right? And they're in position to save the world, but then they're boarded at the last moment, by the big bad guy,
the Machine.
Okay.
His crew, gang.
Okay, and so you're the main guy whose name is like Brad McLeod or something like that. I wish I could remember his name. It's a good hero name. It's like one of the purple hair. The bad guy thinks that he's dead along with all the other crew, but he's not. The bad guy leaves the ship unscathed because that's what bad guys do. He hurried off. He had something else to do, and so. The good guy basically just is wandering around the ship, and he comes into the room where all these Turrican suits are stored. And he's like, well, I know what I'm doing. So he dons the Turrican suit, and then he's ready to go.
Show us your donning the suit move again.
This is what he does.
That's how you put them on. You wave the shoulders like that.
You sort of shimmy into it.
Why don't you have one of these?
Man, I wish I did.
Oh, my God.
I sense a Halloween costume in my future.
So I want to see you build that. So basically, you don't need a backstory to play it, but there it is. So then you fire it up. Now, Turrican is a complex game. Let's face facts. You're not just this isn't one of those games like where you just walk around and shoot, because that's for suckers. And I will say some of this was lost on me during the first review. I didn't understand the complexity that the game offered. All right, and I'm man enough to admit it. So, of course, you've got a guy in powered armor. So you got that. He's got a gun. Okay, your gun has two different ways to fire out of the gate. Okay, you can hit the button, tap the button, and it will shoot bullets or balls, whatever. If you hold the button, the thing like energy shoots out of the gun like a torch, like a water hose, and you have to control this thing, but you can't move. All you can do is fire. Okay, so you've got those two firing options. Then you've got an option, and I kid you not, I bet I used this maybe 1 or 2 times before I started playing it for this show. It's the old Metroid option. If you hold the button and pull down, you will become what basically looks like sort of like a glaive.
Well, it's sort of the Metroid option, but it's also sort of the Sonic the Hedgehog option.
It is.
Because
you're not wrong.
When you're rolling around in Metroid, you are not an offensive weapon. But in this game, you mow suckers down when you're rolling
also
around.
You're indestructible, we should mention, when you're in the ball. So guess what I used a lot more of? The ball.
Glaive-o-vision.
The glaive ball. And hey, listen, anything that turns you into something that sort of looks like the glaive, I'm on board. Right? And so also when you're in ball mode, you can drop bombs. Right? So you've got that going for you. So let's recap. Gun that shoots like a fire hose, ball, and bombs. Now
you also have. Are you going to talk about the sort of smart bomb type thing too?
You mean the ultimate weapon?
The ultimate weapon. Thank you.
Get this, and this I was happy to read this on Moby because it was the first thing I thought of. If you hold down both buttons, okay, or there's also you can hit the button on the keyboard, you will get like the ultra shot, okay. And what that is like basically you turn into a ball, you fire. It's just crazy time. It fills up the screen with craziness. They say this is an exact dedicated bit that they hort from Last Starfighter, which is what love that movie. And the bit at the end where they actually do that is great. And so basically this is like a super fire.
Yeah. Now there is also a smart bomb in this game though. That's not the crazy time thing, but it basically looks like two shields of energy that emanate from both sides of you that travel across the screen horizontally.
Yes.
And so you have a limited number of those, and those clear the screen as well. So you're an offensive juggernaut in this game.
And the wall is vitally important until it's not. That's the funny thing about the wall. Like for example, when you're fighting a boss, the wall didn't help you that much. So your goal is aside from the fact that you're a walking, talking weapon of death, in a lot of ways, this is sort of your typical European like run and gun game. Like so what does that mean? It means you've got huge levels, sort of like never-ending levels, and places you can go, places you can find, lots of exploration, lots of secret passages, secret power-ups, all that sort of thing. The levels are huge, and you're going to fight multiple, like you're going to fight many bosses before you get to the level boss. And then after him, you're probably going to go a little bit further, at least in the levels I went to. But the levels are long. I will say, when you die on the levels, this is, thankfully, this is something that a lot of these things don't do. When you die, they put you right back where you died, which that goes, oh, man, that goes a long way, doesn't it, Bo? Because, man, if you died,
sure does.
Now, painfully, aside from the fact that they're huge levels and they're hard and they're ripe with villains and bad guys, there's also a time limit that ticks down. And the time limit sucks, because if the time limit reaches 0, that means you just basically lose a man. I got to the point in some of my games where I was like, okay, I'm not going to finish the level, okay? So what I would do is just stop and just let the timer run out and kill me, because I knew if I didn't do that and I got killed, I could lose 2 men instead of 1. You know what I mean?
Right.
Did you ever do that?
No, I never did that. But
you
that makes
have
sense
when
to
you're conserving those extra men. So I've been rambling for a while here. We haven't played this for quite a while. I don't know how much you play this on your personal time. What did you think about this, coming back to it and giving it a whirl the first time out?
Well, here's the thing. This is a run and gun platform game, okay? What do you think is the most important thing in a run and gun platform game?
Well, the enemies, the amount of enemies, and whether they respawn or not, that's always something I think about. The level design is something that's important. So those are the two things that come right off the top of my head. What'd you have in mind?
Well, I mean, there's no wrong answers, obviously.
Oh, okay. I thought there was.
For me, the most important thing is controls.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, if you don't feel at home with the controls, you are not going to have success at a game like this. And part of the reason why I didn't have success in a game like this is because I did not take the time to set up the controls in the way that made sense to me. Now, you may call that cheating. You may say, well, that wasn't the game that wasn't the way the game was originally supposed to be played. You shouldn't do that. And I mean, that's fine. Whatever. You can say whatever you want. But the amount of fun that I had with Turrican II exponentially increased when I got better at Turrican II. It's kind of funny when you're better at a game, you tend to have more fun with it because you're succeeding. So what I did was I made my second button jump, I made my first button shoot, and I made a third button the wall. Okay. And so when I did that, I could play it like a run and gun game like Contra, you know, a game that I know very well. And it was great. I got so much farther in the game. I got past the first level. I was so happy to hear that you also got past the first level because I did as well. I felt so proud. But if I was using up for jump, I would never have done. I would never been able to do it because my brain is programmed in a way to play these games like I learned how to play them when I was 8 years old on a Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me, being able to change the controls into a way that you know, to where they feel natural, to where the controls basically disappear, because that's the point. The point of a controller is to make the game is for the controller not to be there. It's for it to disappear and you don't think about it anymore and you can totally immerse yourself in what's going on in the game. So that was the big difference between Turrican 2 on our second look versus Turrican 2 on our first look, or even Turrican 2 when I played it the other day on my stream, you know, a couple weeks before we were doing this game because I knew it was coming up. I will say that the enemies are relentless in this game. You have to memorize where they are, where they're coming from. This isn't a game that you can play on the fly. In my opinion, the enemy placement is so intense, and they, you know, and the enemies just come at you so fast. You have to know these levels, and you have to know, okay, at this point, there are so many times where you're going up a corridor in this game. And it's like the gaming gods just pour a whole glass of enemies down this corridor, and here they come,
Yeah.
and you got to deal with them. And you've got to know where those positions are, and you got to be ready. Your weapon choice is incredibly important in this game. Like there are some places where you want to have the spread. There are some places where you want to have the bounce. You got to know what to get. The third thing about this game, and this is sort of my biggest problem with this game, is that the game expects you to fully explore each level. You know, in a lot of run and gun games, the point of the game is to get to the end of the level, you blow up everything in your way, you beat the boss, and you move on. This is your classic European style level design where the levels are one big area where you're traveling both vertically and horizontally all over the place. And there are lots of power-ups to be found in these levels. There's lots of power-ups. You can get extra men, power up your suit, invincibility, extra bombs, all kinds of stuff. And unless you figure out where those things are, you're not going to be able to build up your set of abilities and extra lives so you can successfully make it through this game. Now, I'm sort of, you know, I don't want you to think that I'm putting other run and gun games from this era up on a pedestal, because in a game like Contra, you don't even get that option. You know, you get your 3 lives. You get a couple power-ups along the way, but it's nothing like it is in Turrican. The only people I know that ever beat Contra did it by using the old Contra code, the old 20-man code, which is, you know, cheating in itself. So I'm not saying that, you know, the games that were on the systems that I was playing in this genre growing up are miles better than Turrican. They're not. They're difficult and they're unfair in their own ways, and they're their own types of game. It's hard to picture a game doing what Turrican sets out to do better, but you have to know what's expected of you going in. And that's not always readily apparent, especially to people like me who didn't grow up playing games from this genre. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Well, I want to start back with what you said about control. Now, I played this with of course, I used my cheap, generic Super Nintendo wireless pad. And so I had it set up for 2 buttons. That's all. I mean, which it comes with built-in support for 2 buttons. I didn't have to do anything. and I played it like that. And with 2 buttons and up for jump, I think up for jump works pretty good for this one, to be honest with you. For me, now I mean I know you hate it, but it worked okay for me.
Sure.
You know, this is one of those games, and I'm gonna be real honest here. I always disliked this game, and the reason I disliked it, and you sort of nailed this earlier, is because I was very bad at it, and I didn't understand this game. All right, and I'm not saying I'm the king of the game because I got past the first level, but what I'm saying is I understand why people like it and what makes it fun, because I actually, this week, maybe for the first time ever, I had fun playing this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, we know all the components for fun are there. It's got great graphics. It's got the best music. It's got all kinds of crazy weapon combinations. But the fun I had, was surprising to me even, was going around the levels, exploring the levels. I mean, I was trying to get out, but ultimately you're going to go places that you aren't supposed to go or you don't need to go. And it's very gratifying. They've done a great job of putting stuff in the game to make it fun to go look around. Which that part of the game, I'm baffled that they bothered to put in a time
right.
on
and
this game.
That's probably one of the biggest knocks against this game. Is we say this all the time. If you want a key component of your game to be exploration, don't put in a time limit.
Yeah, and the timer's not. I mean, it's pretty tight unless you're a real pro or you know your way around the levels. I think. It's funny, the first time we reviewed this, I mentioned on the show, like, yeah, the timer never played a factor. Well, it didn't, because I wasn't good enough to live long enough. But when you get good enough to live long enough, the timer plays a huge factor. Like we were saying, I would often have to sacrifice a man just to the timer, basically, and just sit there until it ran out, because I knew there was no way I could finish the level before the timer ran out, and I didn't want to lose 2 men. You know, so, those are the prices you pay. But I had a lot of fun. And there's a lot of fun to be had in sort of the same way. You know, I've never been a big Metroid fan. I mean, I used to play the original one. I thought it was okay. But I know one of the draws of it is finding the little secret areas. And the little ball aspect of this game, which I pretty much didn't use at all the first go-around, that made the game a lot more fun for me to try to get to places I couldn't normally go, get extra power-ups. The stuff that you've come to expect, Bo, but for me it's a little bit different because I haven't played that much NES. I thought that aspect of it was fun. I really enjoyed just seeing where I could get to, you know, and so that was a lot of fun. Now, here are the things I still think that it's too hard. I still think they throw too many enemies at you, and I don't like a game with all the blind jumps that this one has. And this one's got tons and tons of blind jumps, and there's no way to look down. That bothers me. I never liked that. I'll give you an example of the first level. Once you get past the initial part of the level where you can go up to the top of the mountain where you don't get blown off, if you jump wrong, you've got to work your way all the way back around. And after you do that over and over, I hate that. I hate having to work back around. You know, that's a flaw in the level design. And I know some people like it. The whole Metroidvania thing where you go back and forth of the same area, I don't like it. I do like the element with the gun. The controls, you're right to a certain degree. I mean, this game screams for a controller that has more than 2 buttons even. Really, I mean, something like a Super Nintendo controller or a Genesis controller would be helpful, just so because I can't tell you how many times I accidentally used those walls, for example, when I was trying to come out of ball mode, stuff like that, you know, or accidentally cranked up the mega weapon when I didn't want to use it, you know. But that's sort of par for the course on a lot of Amiga games that try to have many different things going on. You're going to just screw up and get the wrong thing occasionally. I like the variety of weapons. I like the fact that you've got fireballs and bouncing balls. You've got all these different things. Is it too much? Maybe. I know there are certain areas where you can get like about 30 of those things pop up, and I went on the assumption that the creators wanted you to just pick the stuff you wanted and not just go there and grab everything and just randomly have, which is pretty much what I did. I'm sure.
Well, I will say it's difficult because when you hit one of those power-up blocks, I mean, you fire into it a million times and a billion things pop up.
Yeah.
And it's hard to really pick and choose. I always just ended up getting everything and then just going with it. Because it's that part of it, like, it's cool in a way because when you see a billion power-ups pop out of a rock, you're like, man, that looks cool, and I'm getting awesome stuff. But at the same time, it would have been nice to maybe dial that back just a little bit.
Yeah, there's plenty of this game. In fact, the majority of it that I have not played through, due to the fact that I just couldn't get that far. And My goal this week was to get as far as I could without cheating, which is what I did in the last time we did this. I cheated, and I got to play a bunch of additional, but I sucked at all the levels, and I just didn't have any fun.
Right.
And,
well, this is not an easy game to have fun with when you cheat, because there is an infinite lives code that you can put in the sound test. But when you do that, you also get infinite power. And basically all you're doing is you're just walking through the levels, because there's no challenge, because since you come back exactly where you die from, I mean, you're basically just mowing stuff down and moseying through the levels. I didn't find some games when you cheat, it makes the game more fun and it actually makes it okay to play, but this is not one of those games. I will say that the stages are all unique. They all offer different enemies. They don't do a lot of enemy recycling in this game. The bosses are all big and different. The areas that you fight in, I mean, you're still sort of, in caves, but they really did a good job, I think, of differentiating between the stages. And of course, level 3, you don't even play as your robot guy anymore. It's a horizontally scrolling shoot 'em up level, which is cool.
Yeah. I like when they mix games up like that. I mean, I'm gonna say that I sort of had a revelation. Every once in a while this happens to me when it clicks. And this week, probably the first time in my whole life, I got this game. And I'm not gonna lie. When this came up a couple weeks ago, I'm like, oh, here we go again. We're gonna beat that drum again. But man, I'm so glad we came back to it, because I had exponentially more fun playing this time around, and I definitely can see myself playing this going forward a lot more, because I really enjoy. It's a very unique game. In some ways it's not, but in a lot of ways it is. I mean, it's actually, we talk about it. Oh, it's a European this, but I mean, it's a lot more sensible and less random and goofy than a lot of the European games that we play with this variety. And it's certainly polished. The music keeps you coming back. I like the level of variety. I love all that stuff, Boat. Now, there are some wacky tidbits we want to get into here, Boat. And I read this a couple places, and I had to laugh, and I can see why it would happen. I'm sure you read this too. So, this game has a lot of extra weirdness to it. For example, when in 1991, all right, put yourself back in Cologne. All right, Factor 5 presented a Turrican II demo at a computer show in Cologne. Okay, so they only had 900 copies to give away. All right, so many people wanted it after seeing the demo that there was a riot and 2 people were wounded trying to get hold of this game, Boat.
It's like the Rite of Spring premiere.
I couldn't believe that, man. It blew my mind. So that people were willing to whoop a butt to get this thing, which I enjoy. Now, Boat mentioned this earlier about the Super Nintendo, it's the Super Nintendo version, which was called Universal Soldier. Did you look into this, Boat?
Well, I know that they basically just rebranded the main character. They changed the sprite, and then it was just Turrican II. Other than that, right?
More or less. So there was they were working on a console port of this for the Super Nintendo. Of course, they already had one going on for the Mega Drive, the Game Boy, and so, but they wanted to do something. Well, right at the last minute, Accolade acquired the rights to do a game based on the film Universal Soldier. Have you ever seen that film, by the way?
No, I haven't.
I have.
Is it great?
It's got Jean-Claude Van Damme in it. It's got Dolph Lundgren, if you remember him, the big Russian from
I like
Rocky.
him from Rocky. Yeah.
So anyway, I would not call it a great film. It's okay. It's funny. I had a friend that I worked with at IBM. That was his all-time favorite film for whatever reason.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's not the worst. Anyway, so they got this license, and like you said, they decided, heck, we'll just turn Turrican into this. And so they did. They turned the main guy into Jean-Claude Van Damme. Also, Dolph Lundgren's in there somewhere. They actually put in they took a couple levels and literally put their own levels in. They changed some of the characters to be more like stuff that was in the film, like more military stuff. And the rest is history. My favorite part of this whole presentation is I was reading this on Moby. They said Entertainment Weekly looked at this game and gave it a D+, the Super Nintendo game, and they wrote, Universal in name only, this is very reminiscent of the mediocre action game called Turrican, featuring the kind of dinky enemies that have plagued the genre for years, as well as a hero who curls up into a buzzing circular saw. It's still no worse than the movies it has absolutely nothing to do with. And so I guess they had to keep in the fact that somehow Universal Soldier can still turn into the ball. Which that was.
I wonder how that was explained in the docs.
I don't know. They also was mentioned. I remember talking about this. They've released a commemorative 30th anniversary pack of this game called Turrican Flashback for the PS4 and the Switch. And I believe this thing cost $400 billion. I remember us covering this one week in the news. So if you're real hard up, and I remember it seemed like they had some problems with it as well, Boat.
There's definitely commemorative coins involved.
Yeah. No kidding. This may surprise you. And I know we've got a ton of Discord action on this, but I looked at the magazine ratings to see how this did. This may surprise you. It was pretty well received, Boat. Ace gave this thing a 89. Amiga actually gave it an 86. Amiga Format gave it an 80. Amiga Joker 89. So this is one time where Amiga Joker was well ahead of the rest of the pack.
Well, it's hometown love is what it is.
AUI
it's a German
90,
developer game.
CU Amiga 95. Here's another one. That Our Magazine gave it a 9 out of 10. I'm sure they're German. The One gave it a 91. Zero gave it a 90. The Average Magazine rating a 90. And then to close the book on this before we get to the Discord reviews, I looked this up on eBay, Boat. Bring your checkbook, man. We may need to sell a coloring book before we can purchase this thing. I saw these sell for $100 at $194, and people were asking far, far more. So they are not cheap, brother. This is none of the Turricans go cheap. They're all pretty pricey.
Yeah. Well, these are so beloved games that it makes sense that they would sell for big bucks.
I will say I've never seen a game that had more magnets and posters that were based on it. So I mean, everyone's trying to get a little of the action.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Super Famiking. Never mind. He said he'd try to get it in before the deadline. There it is. We're going to start with Pajako 6502. He says Turrican II is one of my all-time top games. Is it harsh? Yes. Is it frustrating? Hell yeah. But there is something about Turrican II that I loved, from the banging soundtrack to the array of weapons on offer and the ability to roll into a spiky ball and decimate enemies. Big maps that are easy to get lost in but have plenty to explore. Although I had a pirated copy of this game, I still have those pirated floppy disks because of the fond memories of playing this and, yes, completing it through to the end. True, it's not for everyone, but it certainly was for me. 9 out of 10. Jason Warnes writes, exceptional. 9.5 out of 10. Dave Velociraptor writes, feels great, looks great, sounds great, cool as anything apart from the speech. Such a polished game, but it is unnecessarily and indefensibly hard. 7.5 out of 10. Sky76 claims that Turrican II: The Final Fight is the definitive Amiga game. There you go. You just stop doing the show after this. We found the best one.
There you go. We're
An
done.
all-time 16-bit home computer classic that has aged well and offers a lot of replay value. Exploring the vast and diversified levels, enjoying the colorful graphics and smooth animations, listening to that excellent music and sound effects, the game is perfect through and through. The difficulty level is in fact easy, especially in comparison to the majority of Amiga games. After a few initial attempts, I've managed to complete this game several times, collecting an average of 30 extra lives on each way through. If not this one, then what else? 10 out of 10.
Wow. Who was that again? That was
Sky 76.
Man, that guy. I need to hang with him. He knows how to play to get that many extra, man.
Barkbit writes, the best in the series and the best version. The Amiga truly shines here with smooth scrolling, fast frame rate, stunning graphics, and a fantastic soundtrack by the master Huelsbeck himself. The fact that Chris wrote his own routines to add the extra channels of sound is just mind-blowing to me. The game holds up excellent to this day and is an absolute must-play for any newcomers. The ultimate run-and-gun game for the system. I've now run out of adjectives. Shoot or die. 10 out of 10. Explorer writes, love the sound, graphics, music, and gameplay. 9 out of 10. Pixels at Dawn chimes in. He says, I only started playing this game because of the Amigos High Score Challenge way back when. I never played it before then. Man, did I miss out. Turrican II is just a really solid run-in game in the Metroid vein. It looks awesome. It sounds just incredible. The spray weapon is super satisfying every time you use it. The game is, however, incredibly hard. I think I only got to level 2 once. But it says something for the game that I could quite happily just play level 1 over and over and still have a good time. Maybe I'll get better over time. Maybe I won't. But I could quite happily just sit on the menu screen and enjoy the Huelsbeck goodness. Minus points for the timer, though, as always. 8.5 out of 10. And finally, Super Famiking. He says, recording Amiga. He's not happy we're recording Amigos on a Thursday. He doesn't have time to kill the Amiga fanboy's favorite. Turrican, more like Turricant. For tonight, let me just say 4 out of 10, and I'll give reasons why tomorrow.
Wow.
So
burial boat.
Yeah, he is not a fan of Turrican II.
You know,
and I will remind everybody that we always post when we are recording Amigos every week on the announcements channel, and from the beginning of this week, we did announce that we were recording on Thursday.
There you go. Save our butts, boat. You know, before we move out of here, I did a little port comparison video here between the Amiga version and the surprisingly sharp DOS version of this boat. You ever tried this on the old DOS machine?
I didn't, but I watched a comparison video that featured the DOS version, and I was very surprised at how good it looks. It looks different than the Amiga version.
It looks better. Let's call it what it is. It looks better than the Amiga version. It looks sharper. The graphics are clearer. It's a good-looking game. Now, I have not played the DOS version, and we know the proof's in the pudding when it comes to that sort of stuff. But I will say they did an excellent job. This looks very, very nice. And now,
I agree.
Part of it also, how's it going to sound? You know, so there you go. Yes, it was released many years later, as is pointed out here about Awkward Aardvark. I also want to mention that earlier we said that Magazinen was German. Barkbit pointed out to me that it was, in fact, Swedish. So there you go. This is why we are not linguists or know anything about any of that stuff, Bode.
That's very true.
There you go. Turrican II, I liked her.
All right. Me too. So what do you say, Aaron? Should we take a look at the old YouTube channel and see what's been going on there?
What the hey, Boat? Let's give her a whirl. You know, we've been off for a while, so we're going to go through these quick, Boat. We got a lot of ground to cover here. We'll start off with myself and the Brent. You all know him. This past week, it was actually right before Amigathon when we did this. It was Guilty Pleasure Games, Boat. And Brent picked a real oddball game called Portman. Which I will say, he's been on about this for a while. This is a hidden gem, Boat.
He turned me on to Portman, and I really like that game.
Yeah, Portman, hidden gem. It's an arcade game. Give it a shot. It is quite a unique gameplay on this one. I went for my guilty pleasure, which was Carnival Games for the Wii. It's the first Wii game we've ever covered on the show. I know a lot of people don't like the Wii, but I love it, actually. I don't
know who these people are. You say that all the time, and that's not
you're
like
hardcore,
you see people
you're hardcore gamers, you're purists, Boat. They're not down with it.
Guess how much time I have for those
people. That's what I like to hear, Boat. Some night you're going to come over here for a big rousing round of Carnival Games with me.
I would love to.
So there you go. That's what we covered on ARG. We had a good time. I yelled at Brent a lot. We have also stuck out a Coco show. Why not, Boat? Tell them what it is this time around.
It is Tandy, Color Baseball.
Yeah, and we had fun with this one too.
Yeah, the original baseball game for the Coco, the original and still the best probably. We had a good time talking about Color Baseball, and yeah, it is definitely a game that allows you a tremendous amount of freedom to do anything you want, for better or worse.
Yes. I would say at the time this was my second favorite baseball. But hey, you got a long road to hoe if you're going to get past Major League Baseball on the Intellivision, which is a top shelf game. So Coco Show, check that out over there. We had a lot of fun on that one too. Next out of the dock here, hanging out with Bode. Who doesn't want to do that? I hung out with you a couple of times. Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, it's usually me just chilling, kicking back, playing a couple games. This time through, I went through and I played all the games on the various high score challenges. And had a good time. I also, of course, had to close out the stream with the old Neo Turf Masters.
Yeah. How'd you do this week, Boat?
I did better this week than I did in weeks previous. But I still actually no. This was still a
horrible week.
This was a horrible week. The one on the next stream is much better. Yes. I still only got third from the bottom though.
Oh man, well listen,
I'm not going to win this tournament anytime soon.
Listen, Boat. My advice: if you're going to keep golfing like that, is get you a small boat to go out there and get them balls out of the water. So it's always a good time. A little streaming with the boat. Speaking of a little streaming, I put this up just for kicks. We had an open night day on our schedule. This was a Friday night stream I did. And initially what I'd planned on doing was indie games on the Dreamcast, but I couldn't resist breaking out my son, the Luke, and getting some San Francisco Rush 2049 in. That's his game. And I had my room cam set up so people could watch Luke's unique play style.
Yes.
Dancing around like an idiot.
It's a very physical activity when Luke is involved.
Yes. And I was just telling you before we went on the air, he also plays pinball in that same way. And
that's great, man.
There's nothing more demoralizing than getting murdered as he dances around like a goof. But that's what he did. And then we went into some more indie-fied Dreamcast games. Let me tell you something. If you want to play some unique, beautiful shmups, this is your baby right here.
Yeah.
We played some great. By the way, does that look familiar? Turrican on the Dreamcast. Someone sort of semi-ported it over.
Okay.
But man, we played some, and there's one game that comes up with here. It is the most beautiful game I've ever seen on the Dreamcast. Just gorgeous. So if you're into the Dreamcast, or you're wondering what the indie scene's like on there, check that out. We had a lot of fun that night doing that particular stream. And next on the docket, our good buddy, yes, it's Rob Flack O'Hara, Sprite Castle. And this time out, this is the Sprite Castle plays with Burger Time. Burger Time. That's the Brent's wife's favorite game, Terry. That's her game. And Rob plays a couple different types of Burger Time games on the C64 here. Some of them are better than others, Boat. You know what I mean? But Flack always makes it fun. And I will say, I listened to the Sprite Castle Burger Time that he released this past week. Very much enjoyed it. And Flack actually shot this sucker live, Boat. He did the video version. It's available on his channel.
You can check out the Jack Flack YouTube channel to watch Sprite Castle on YouTube.
I was glad to see him do the trick, Boat. Always entertaining to see that. Now, the first years, this is our good buddy Frodo NL here. The first years of the TurboGrafx 16. This may alarm you, Boat, but they're good. Good years. They had some good stuff.
Shocking that the PC Engine has a solid library.
Yeah, he by the way, that baseball's slightly better than the Coco baseball
slightly
that we looked at. You can see Frodo there, a noble man. He cuts a great figure up in the corner as he goes to these games. And Frodo, he doesn't rush anything. He takes his time. If you want to watch 4.5 hours of incredibly hot TurboGrafx action, this is the video for you, Boat. And you will get all the good stuff. And there's plenty of interesting stuff in the mix there from Frodo. Of course, we've got an Amigathon teaser. No reason to go into that. Now, this Boat, I'm very excited to talk about this. This is really the first big offering from the Brent. In lieu of, since we didn't do a show last week, Brent released a video, and it's called, I think it's the first in a series, and it's called Places I Played. Have you watched this yet?
I have. I've watched this.
This was, I was ready to bury this guy. All right. I mean, I literally had the shovel in hand, Boat, because there's nothing I like better than a good old fashioned the Brent burial. But begrudgingly, I enjoyed this immensely. I really did. For starters, you get to see Brent leave our house and drive to the actual place he's talking about. So if you ever wonder what it was like to drive up and down our roads, this is a good indicator at the beginning of the video. And then Brent just goes into how he discovered this, like some various points in his life. It was a very deeply personal episode of Places I Played.
I had no idea of this particular episode in the life of the Brent.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't know how badly his arm was hurt or any of this stuff, and I was praying that he wasn't talking about something that I did to him. Because I could feel a reverse burial coming on. That's what I was worried about. So, yeah. But man, this was great, and it was well received too, man. So I got to give the Brent credit. I hope we will see more of these in the future. But this was a real fun video, and I hate to say this too, but the Brent knows his stuff. When he gets into the technical aspects of the games he's talking about, like, he goes to work. So good on him. Well done to Brent. I hate to say that, but it's true. Boat, there were questions that needed answers. And you know who comes to the rescue? It's me and you. Ask the Amigos, June 2021. What did we talk about in this one? Do you remember?
Well, I know we led things off with a rousing discussion on the current state of the arcade collectible scene and how much Donkey Kong and other machines are going for these days. We answered tons of other questions, some video game related, most not, most wacky. So if you're into listening to us give wacky answers to wacky questions, you can't go wrong with good old Ask the Amigos.
You can't go wrong with this channel in general if you're into that, because that's all we do. It's wackiness nonstop. I had a lot of fun filming that, by the way, and it wasn't because of the adult beverage that you saw in that video. Last but certainly not least, this is fresh, hot off the presses. I haven't even seen this yet because I was unavailable last night to watch this. So I very rarely miss a Sprite Castle. This is the Sprite Castle plays Commando games, Bo. Were you a big Commando guy? I don't mean the underpants.
I missed out on. I probably played Commando in any guise 3 times or less in my life.
Yeah. Guess what? I'm not a big fan either, if I'm honest. And part of the reason, much like Turrican II, I wasn't very good at Commando. But it's sort of fun, I guess, kind of. It just wasn't my bag back in the day. But guess what? I know a guy whose bag it is, and it's the Flack. He's great at these games.
In fact, the Flack has mentioned, I don't know, I need to stop this in front of everybody's name. The Brent is the only one that needs that.
It catches on, man.
Flack is I think he said multiple times that he would like the high score theme from the C64 Commando played at his funeral as the casket is being lowered into the ground.
That's weird. I thought I think something more appropriate would be like when they, after a Looney Tunes cartoon goes off the air, that kind of. I think that's
the merry-go-round fell down.
There you go. Look, you could be the music coordinator at his funeral, Boat. There you go. So there you go. Jack Flack playing himself some going commando, if you will. Boat. That's us to the pay window, my friend. That's it. We ran through everything right there. You want to talk about what you and Neil got up to?
Sure. Yeah, we released an episode last week all about the new craze, if you will, of people investing in video games as part of their retirement portfolio. Is this a good idea? Is now the time to invest in video games for real? If you look at the price of things like the $1.5 million auction of the Super Mario 64 CD, or I'm sorry, not CD cartridge, you might start looking around and thinking, man, maybe I need to pick up some of these sealed games and just, put them in a bank vault somewhere and put them right next to my stocks and my bonds. What do you think, man? Is now the time?
I watched the episode here, and I really did give it a good. I don't know. It's, you talked about comic books. You mentioned that quite a bit, and comic books. It was never a good time. It's still not. I don't think, unless if there are surefire hits out there, but a lot of it I don't know if it's a good idea or not. But with video games, man, the prices are so ludicrous. I don't even know. Maybe it is. Maybe this is the time to invest. But I don't know. If you get into it now, it's like you're not on the ground floor, so you're going to be paying big time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So we talk about that. We talk about a computer store that has been vacant yet still full of stock since 2001 in Norman, Oklahoma. You can actually go in there and you can look into the windows and all the displays are still there. The owner is involved in some sort of litigation. And so you see this, you see, a computer store as it was in 2001 in all of its quote unquote glory.
That's a weird story.
Yeah.
And the thing is, 2001, and I liked your opinion. You said sounded like the store looked as boring as conceivably possible in there. And I will say, looking at the pictures, listen, that's the kind of computer store that I'm like, where's all the good stuff, man? Look at all in 2001, it's not what I consider like prime time for the best stuff for our kind of stuff anyway.
No.
But still, it's unusual. And you're also right about the beige boxes. They look so boring. It's funny that now these beige boxes are they're so over. within the YouTube community and stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
like tripping over themselves to get them. But I worked on all this crap, and I didn't care a bit about them. I was like, these are garbage. So it's weird.
Yeah. And we talk about Defender's source code being released to the public with or without the permission of the authors. You can get that on GitHub and compile it yourself in whatever way you choose.
I bet without, Boat. That'd be my guess.
Yeah. And finally, we talked about the curious history of video games on vinyl. Talked about the Thompson Twins adventure game that came on a flexi disc. All kinds of wacky stuff like that. So yeah, this is a pretty entertaining episode of This Week in Retro. If you're interested in hearing the whole thing, you can either head on over to the This Week in Retro YouTube channel, or you can subscribe to us in podcast form in whatever podcatcher you choose.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that one, Boat.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Well, as we come to the end of the show, we should probably take a second and thank all of the fine people that make this show happen. We are very, very lucky to have a huge cast of characters that support us through various means, including, if you're watching right now live on Twitch, you can subscribe to us on twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming and help us support us financially. If you are an Amazon Prime customer, you get one free sub a month. It costs you nothing, and it throws us a couple bucks. So feel free to use that on us if you want. We'd like to thank all of our Twitch subscribers, including Macintosh Librarian, Mitsuyama, Pints and Amiga, Crabs MTG, Eeyore4077, Scumboy, Blow Jellyfish, ChronosNet, Orom, Beach Bum 7, Daedlius 75, Super Famiking, Negsol, Uber Scuba Diver, Explorer, Captain Chaos DK, Memories of a Spectrum Gamer, Jigglebox, Peeplo, Luminate 08, Gary Heather, Am I Steph, Made by Legends, John Marshall 3, Monzames, Buck Owens, Dragonbanes, OZ, Dave Velociraptor, Alley Cat, Still Adolescing, Wing Chun Wolf, Blue Train, History Chick 1558, Frodo NL, Matt Dufort, and Wide World of Retro. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to us on Twitch.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, Aaron. Now, 2 weeks ago. Before we get into the Patreon song, we want to thank. We have a new Amigos Game Selection Committee member, Aaron. Someone has joined the illustrious group of people at the tippity top of the Amigos pyramid, and that person is Mick Chessers.
Very good, sir. Welcome aboard. Be kind, my friend. Remember, we love you.
We also have a new supporter, David Hearn. So we welcome him into the fold. Welcome, David. Now, Aaron, last week, the Patreon song was The Letter by the Box Tops.
I like the Joe Cocker version of that one myself. I love that. Love the live version. Yeah, it's a good one. I recognize that one right off.
Yeah. Mitsuyama got it. Paul Kitching, Rob O'Hara, Barkbit, David Z, Eric Nelson, Jigglebox's wife, Clogglebox, and Paul Marfleet.
Clogglebox?
Clogglebox, yeah. She wears clogs. Maybe she's involved in Appalachian clog dancing.
Now, see, that would be awesome. I would love to see that.
Yeah, you don't see clogging as much as you used to.
Remember I brought clogging up one time and you mocked me. You're like, nobody does that.
Well,
that's a West Virginia staple.
When I was a kid, I used to go to Vandalia, and it seemed like everybody and their mother was out there clogging.
Yeah. Everyone tries.
Yeah,
it depends on how much Vandalia wine you've got. Everyone's a clogger one day a year.
Paul Marfleet points out that Alex Chilton, the lead singer of the Box Tops, was only 16 when he recorded that.
He did good.
He did real good.
Yeah.
All right. So if you know the answer to this week's Patreon song, send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com.
Here we go.
David Hearn, Chessers, Chris Edwards, Ramo, K. Ramo, K. David Terrace, Jude Carlos, Matthew Mobius, Phantom Magnus, Seth Yates, Alistair Fiend, Christian Russo, David Z, George Rosansky, The Amiga Show, Daniel Crabtree, Super Fammy King, Crazy Loomis, William Vinter Scar, Heavy Systems Inc., Bundy, Fraglord, Mark Byland, Olaf Hopermsky, Jonah, aka Simulant, alien breeder Dave Velociraptor, Cowbird Boy Lane Denson, Luke Hudson, John Cook, Bomb the Base, Frodo, NL, Solin Sizer, Tech, Major Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorglub Reflection, Simon Lech, Cap'n Crispy, Kilobytes and Caffeine, Gary, Heather, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pigford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobster Minator, 10-Minute Amiga, Retrocast, Bernard Quinn, RMC, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Eder, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Shanzo, Barkbit, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, Leaf Killand, Alan Kebab, Checote, Level Lord John Marshall, Matthew Perrone, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy, CTZ, Chris Foles, Lauren Giroux, Graham Bebke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Tapes from the Crib, Josh Knight, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbertstad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Wands, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
It was a very reserved performance this evening, Boat.
Thank you. I'm saving my strength for the full band performance next week.
Oh, Lord. Well, I mean, listen, I don't have a problem with it. At no point did I beg for death, so I'd say that's a winner, Boat. Don't know the song, though.
All right. Well, if you know it, John at amigospodcast.com. All right. I will see you guys when... Let's see. That's not how we start the show. See y'all later.
I'll see you too, guys. Come on, Boat. How long has it been since we did this show?
Next week, Aaron, we are going to take a look at Gremlins 2 on the Amiga. Gremlins 2, a wacky movie.
I think I played that on the Atari 8-bit, I believe.
I think I think you might have. I think you might have.
I mean, it's been a long time ago. Hey, before we go, is there any update on any of the high score challenges?
Oh, yes. We should talk about the old high score challenges. Thank you for reminding me. So, in the Amigos high score challenge, we are still keeping it real with the old demon table on Slam Tilt.
We're keeping it real?
We are definitely keeping it real. I'll tell you who's definitely keeping it real. Freaking Barkbit with a score of over 1 billion, Aaron. Yeah.
What a machine.
He is more than double the second place person. I'm bringing up the rear as usual in 7th place. So feel free to contribute to the Amigos high score challenge.
Can you play that on your new setup, Boat?
I can play anything.
Maybe you'll do better that way.
Maybe so. Why don't you submit a score, Aaron? Everybody wants to see your pinball skills in action.
Okay, I'll do it.
And on the other side of things, we have turned the page and introduced a new high score challenge on the ZX Spectrum. It's Starquake, Aaron. Starquake.
We did that one, didn't we?
We did them all. They do the high score challenges based on games we played on our Sinclair. So feel free to submit a score to either one of those on the old Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. You can become a member of the server by supporting any of the shows, including Amigos, The Coco Show, Our Sinclair, 1200XL, ARG Presents, Sprite Castle, or Pixel Guide In will get you in. So we thank all the fine folks, including our high score chiefs, Frodo and Ellen Hermsky, for keeping those running.
Keeping it real.
And we want to give one more big shout out to all the fine folks that have joined us live on Twitch today. We do record the show normally on Fridays, but we're doing something different this week because I'm going out of town. I'm going to the fine town of Wheeling tomorrow to visit my sister and her family. I'll be gone for the weekend, and it'll be a good time. So we got Duncan Styles and Pixels at Dawn are fantastic moderators. They keep the ball rolling. They keep the band hammer swinging. They know how to do it. And in the chat, we've got Amiga Cami with us, Amiga Live, Awkward Aardvark, Barkbit, Beach Bum, Bitstorm, Blow Jellyfish, Commander Root, Datadog UK, Dave Velociraptor, Demo Scene TV's with us, Eeyore 4077, Frodo NL, HSEIKEN, Herziger, Jason Warrens, John Drill, Kasserin, Kim Tommy 1. I wonder if that's Kim Tommy Humbertstad. L. Curtis Boyle, all hail. Mitsuyama, Mr. Cola, Nag Graham, that's Graham from the Norwich Amiga Group, one of our sponsors of Amigathon. Orom, Ostrix, Picard 2010, R-Typer, Rob O'Hara, Ronza Rosenthal, Super Tech Boy, Tom Toms, Trap Shot Live, V&K, Vigoro Pros, Wide World of Retro, Wishbone, Explorer, and Z9K9. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this evening.
Yes, thanks a lot, y'all.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to wrap things up for Amigos this week. We will see you next time with Gremlins 2. Until then, adios.